when I'm with you, there's no one else around. Yeah, I'm so high, gravity can't hold me down. Imagine faith and hope so alive. You got me feeling.
Welcome to Me, Myself, and Liberty. I'm Leslie Nesmith. Thank you for joining me and taking a break away from the impeachment shenanigans, because that's what they are, is just shenanigans. So I want everybody to take a second and like and share and get all your friends on here, because we have a great show ahead of you today. Robert McMaster, who is running for House District 83, is joining us. This is one of those very important House districts. It is currently occupied by a Democrat, so it's very important that we take it back. Also, I want everyone to mark your calendars on December 14th, which is my brother's birthday. That's not why we're doing it that day, but it's my brother's birthday, is our conservative Christmas celebration. It is a Saturday, so you should all be available, because we know that, we're all off on weekends, right? We have a link on the Facebook page, on my Me, Myself, and Liberty page, as well as the OTU page. There is an Eventbrite out there too under Conservative Christmas Celebration, and it is exactly that. So the candidates that are running for CD5 are, they've all been invited. We have 4 confirmed, and there's a couple that have, come back and said that they may be there too, so we may have a full house. It's not a debate, so it is a party. We are celebrating. We're having fun. We're having food. There will be a cash bar there for you folks that want that. And there will be lots of door prizes. There will be a silent auction. And if you get your tickets by December 1st, you're going to be automatically entered to win a weekend getaway at the Hilton Garden Inn there where we're having the event. So it's the Hilton Garden Inn, Quail Springs, very easy to get to right off the turnpike, so everyone can get there. So look for that event. Join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. And like I said, it's not a debate or anything. It's just a party. We're celebrating. All right. I'll be right back with Robert McMaster.
What's up, crypto newbies, lovers, and experts? It's Matt with your Crypto Minute. Let's begin. Cryptocurrencies, coins, altcoins, and tokens. Good grief, what's the difference? Basically, all coins and tokens are called cryptocurrencies, even if they don't act like a currency. Cryptocurrencies other than Bitcoin are often classified as altcoins, or just simply coins. Coins are built on an entirely separate blockchain. Examples would be like Litecoin, Digibyte, or Ether. Tokens, on the other hand, are representations of a utility or an asset that resides on top of a blockchain like Ethereum. Examples of these would be Theta Token and Populus, which are both ERC20 tokens built on top of the Ethereum blockchain. Essentially, Ethereum is a distributed computing platform and operating system with the ability to create smart contracts. Are you looking to understand Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies? Are you looking to buy and get into the space? Reach out to me. My website's in my bio and on this video. I would love to help you out.
Hi, I'm Leslie Nesmith, host of Me, Myself, and Liberty, right here on OTU Media. I'd like to ask you to go to www.patreon.com/OTU Media to support us. By going to patreon.com, you are supporting everything that we do here at OTU Media and Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite. We are getting the word out, so join us. Welcome back, and as you can see, Robert McMaster has joined me. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, are you ready to be grilled?
Oh, yes.
I really. Okay. Something else I need to mention to the audience on our conservative Christmas celebration is that military, so veterans, law enforcement, and first responders have a special ticket price. So you get a discount. So make sure you sign up. And there are some sponsorships available. All right. So welcome. I'm glad that you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
All right. So I'm going to tell the audience a little bit about you, and I want you to fill in any blanks,
Sure.
Okay? All right. So you were born and raised in the state of Mississippi, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So when did you move here? How?
2013 is when I moved to Oklahoma.
Okay. Your father was a military veteran and law enforcement officer,
Yes, ma'am.
and your mom, social worker and homemaker.
Yes, ma'am.
Christian household, which of course is always a bonus. All those things are a bonus. They were small business owners
That's right.
at a point, okay. And you attended public school in your hometown, and something I thought was interesting. So you were the valedictorian of your class?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, and running for office. So you have your Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration,
Yes, ma'am.
and so you've had different jobs. So you've had experience in the market, working and being a regular old person like the rest of us.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're not like a career politician.
Nope.
Okay.
Simple man, simple part of the country.
Okay. Let's see here. Yep. So currently you are a certified private investigator. So that's interesting. Tell me, I want to hear a little bit about that. So tell me about what it is that you do in that field. I mean, I know
Well,
what a private investigator is, but.
Currently, I'm the in-house investigator for Hunsucker Legal Group in downtown Oklahoma City. My job is to investigate all of our cases that come in.
Okay.
And that involves getting all their records, doing review of the reports and the video and the audio, because I have an equivalency amount of training as law enforcement officers do. I went through an entire academy course in the private sector that had CLEAT, which is the Council for Law Enforcement Education and Training. These were CLEAT certified classes, so to equivalency my training along with law enforcement. So my job is to pretty much evaluate what law enforcement did from an unbiased perspective.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. And so that I can see where that would happen sometimes, where you would have that have that need to figure out what law enforcement was thinking.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what else about you? Married, kids, pets?
I have a wife and 4 children.
Okay.
I have our oldest is a daughter, and then 3 boys.
Oh, 3 boys. See, boys are easier. My husband and I, we have 6 kids total, 5 of which are boys. And to me, boys are just easier than girls. So, I always wonder this about people who are running for office, because as you know, I ran for state senate. How does your spouse enjoy this process? I know how my spouse enjoyed the process. How does she feel about it?
She's supportive. I've tried to pretty much try and keep her separated from it, because I know it's a lot of energy, a lot of things have to go on, and I don't want to bog her down, because she's very supportive. She's also going to school. She helps me out with the kids so that I can go to these events and talk to people and meet people. So she's very supportive of it. She would love to see it come to fruition.
Yeah. Well, great. Okay, so something interesting. So House District 83, for the audience, is it's Edmond, Oklahoma City, and it stops about 15th Street, which is also 164th, right?
Correct.
And then it goes down just past the turnpike, south of the turnpike. It's kind of an odd-shaped district.
Yeah, it's very hodgepodge. And then it kind of kicks over to a section of May Avenue down through Oklahoma City, and then it kind of blocks over on Hefner, and then it literally kind of looks like almost a dog leg.
Okay. So it goes all the way east, almost to Broadway, right?
No, it actually stops just on the other side of Penn.
Oh, okay.
And then it has a little bit of the village, and then a very small sliver of Nichols Hills, kind of east and west side of Penn Avenue.
Okay. So it's just outside of my district. I'm right north of you, about 1 mile. So I can't I can't be biased. I can't vote. All right. It is currently held by a Democrat.
Yes, ma'am.
Chelsea Branham. Okay, so in the race that she had against Jason Reese, 52-48, that's pretty close. And so there's a very real chance of a Republican taking this over.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is exciting. We need it.
Well, not only that, the district has a population of roughly 40,000 people,
Mm-hmm.
and most elections have only pulled around 10 to 15,000 people in them.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a lot of room to bring in voters to actually come and actually vote in the election. And you're right, she barely beat out Mr. Reese
Yeah.
in the previous election. I think it was only about 600 votes.
Yeah, it was real close.
So I really, truly feel that we can, with a little bit of extra effort, talking to more people, shaking hands, talking to business owners, so that we can try and pull out as many votes as we can. But I definitely believe we can take back District 83.
Oh, yeah, I think so, too. Okay, so what do you think, and I didn't pay a real close attention to this particular race in real time or anything like that, but do you think there's anything that Reese could have done any differently to win? I mean, there's always that hindsight. There's always I know that's a tough question, probably.
Well, I hate to Monday morning criticize the Sunday night quarterback.
Yeah.
But it was kind of evaluated and looked at because of the fact it was flipped.
Mm-hmm.
The state did look at what changed.
Mm-hmm.
And what a lot of the research is finding out is that there was a very high number of early voting and absentee ballots.
Yeah.
The night of the election, Mr. Reese was easily taking care of business.
Mm-hmm.
It was just when they added in the early and absentee balloting is when it put her over. So I think that just need to get out there earlier, knocking doors, shaking hands, getting more of a presence out there, not just face-to-face, but also on social media, along with mailings as well. Just really need to get out there more. I'm not saying that Mr. Reese didn't, because I wasn't involved with his campaign.
Yeah. It was kind of an odd political time for everybody, I think. I mean, you had the issues with the teachers taking place and the president and, you know, all this impeachment stuff starting. And, I mean, there was so much going on. We had marijuana on the ballot. And I think that the turnout is going to be different, too, this time around.
Oh, yeah.
So something else I thought was interesting is it looked like in the primary, so there's about half of the voter turnout for the primaries as for the general election.
Correct.
So, and that's the case in most areas, really. So, just kind of interesting. All right. So, in this, you have one other person that's running as a Republican, right?
Correct.
Eric Roberts. And I know this is one of those kind of on-the-spot questions, but what do you think differentiates the two of you, or do you know him well enough to know?
I don't. I've attended one event where he was speaking. He's very knowledgeable in the business sector. He's, from what I could tell from his speech at the event, that he's had a business for a long time of his life. So he has a lot of business knowledge, and I give him full credit on that. That's not an aspect that I have a lot of knowledge on, so I definitely would say that, yeah, he's very business-minded. He's also lived in Oklahoma, I believe, his entire life. So I know that some people will like that more.
Yeah, and there's
matriculated.
I was going to say that there's always two, like you look at the two of you and you go, well, and you have this background and in what you do. And so it's kind of like, man, one of you guys has to take out the Democrat. That's what has to happen at the end of the day.
And he has kind of sort of the same views as me, as far as we need to get into our budget and find out where our problems are so we can fix them and free up money for other avenues, healthcare, education, criminal justice reform. Those are kind of things that we all want to happen. So I, like him, want to get into that budget, really look through it line by line, itemize it, and figure out where we can save money to allocate those funds elsewhere, so we can do better as Oklahomans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about your platform issues. Okay? All right, we'll be right back.
Drives a truck. Visit cdluniversity.org. At CDL University, and another success, and another success. Another one drives a truck. Hey, gonna help you too. Another one drives a
Dear Miller, CDL University. For some of you, it's already too late. You're standing over in a dirt field, waiting in line to back a truck, and it's been 3 weeks now. If you're gonna do this, do it right. Come to CDL University. Get your CDL.
Welcome back to Me, Myself, and Liberty. If you're just now joining us, I am talking to Robert McMaster. He is running for House District 83, which is an important one because it is currently a Democrat who holds that
Yes, ma'am.
position. So we need to turn that. Okay. So now we're going to talk about your platform. Okay. And I love the three that you have here. So we have healthcare reform, education reform, and criminal justice reform. All three very, very important. And most, I would say, Oklahomans are very concerned about those
Yes,
three.
ma'am.
Okay, so we're going to start with healthcare. So healthcare package to include tax deductible, preventive care, HSAs. I'm going to let you talk about that. So tell the audience about healthcare reform and what it means to you and what you would support as in that position.
Sure. Well, before I can actually get into my ideas, I kind of got to throw some numbers out to you first.
Okay.
Back in 2016, the state of Oklahoma spent $2 billion in the form of Medicaid. That's $2 billion we spent for Oklahomans to go get health care coverage. 68% of that $2 billion was roughly for short-term care, like a doctor's visit, eye exam, blood tests, if there was any short-term inpatient stay. So you're talking a vast amount of health care in 1 year being paid for very short, almost preventative services. So I kind of did the very conservative number. I estimated probably 30% of that was preventive care, which means we spent roughly $370 million in 1 year just for preventative care.
Yeah.
So that kind of, how can we try and keep from spending that amount of money? So I was like, well, why don't we leave it for the clinics?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of Oklahoma paying them, let's let them keep that money in the form of a tax deduction,
Mm-hmm.
a dollar-to-dollar tax deduction. That leaves that $370 million out in the free market, out there as disposable income, so that clinics can invest in more workers, more employees, other doctors, which are other forms of tax revenue for the state of Oklahoma, investing in their business, growing their business, buying more equipment. There's so many different things that the free market will do with that money that it will actually end up helping more people. At the same time, you've got those preventative measures being taken care of. And when you look at health care for the state of Oklahoma, you look at things like heart disease, cancer, diabetes. Oklahoma ranks in the top 5 in every single one of those categories.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go and do your research, 5 things on each one of those lists on how to lower your risk of it are things like eating healthy, controlling your blood pressure, watching your vitamin levels, things that fall in the realm of preventative care.
Mm-hmm.
If you go see a doctor every year, you're going to know what your weight is. They're going to give you advice on things that you can do better, vitamins that you can take. You can if you go get a blood test every year, you'll know what your levels are so that you can kind of change your health habits so that you can be healthier. So that's kind of the whole thing behind the first premise of the tax-deductible preventative care. People that are lower income, I want them to be able to go see a doctor every year and not have to worry about having to pay for it. And the state of Oklahoma not having to worry about paying for it either.
Mm-hmm.
Let that money stay with the physicians so that we can use that in an effort to grow, not just on the free market side, but also to get people healthier.
Mm-hmm.
Because a healthy populace, it's better for everybody. It's less investment later on down the road that anybody has to do on healthcare because those preventative measures have been taken early on.
Yeah, and Oklahoma is one of the states that isn't necessarily known for its healthy habits.
Mm-hmm.
With our state fair, I guess everybody has them, the fried Twinkies and all this stuff.
Yep.
I'm like, of course, Oklahoma is a little chubby.
We actually had fried butter at the Mississippi State Fair.
Fried butter. Sounds good.
And the second part of when you talk about healthcare is, well, how can we still take care of the lower income households without it being such a heavy burden on Oklahomans, on Oklahoma taxpayers? And that's where the HSAs and the major medical insurance comes into play. HSAs are designed to incentivize people to invest in their health care.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the year, they will get interest dividends on the money that they've saved.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to do is for Oklahoma to invest in those HSAs percentage-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Right now the percentages are running anywhere from 0.25% to 0.45%, depending upon how much money you have in there. Oklahoma can invest just a little bit of the money, and it can be a part of this $370 million that we potentially be saving to help bump up those interest dividends, to incentivize more people from lower income to invest in those.
Yeah.
Because they're specifically for healthcare. And when you combine those with major medical insurance plans where the premiums are very on the low end, $10, $15, $20, depending upon your age, income, things like that. Whereas we can give deductions for insurance companies that are willing to take even lower rates because they're taking a bigger risk with those plans. The least that Oklahoma can do is to cut down some of their taxes to where they'll be able to do more for other people. Because the less that Oklahoma is having to pay out, the less taxes you have, which means what eventually will happen is you'll see insurance rates start to go down. Oklahoma did a great thing by getting rid of you can't buy insurance over state lines in 2017. That was a great thing that was done. That allowed for insurance rates to try and come down. Now we need to take further steps. We need to look at where we're spending a lot of money, whereas maybe instead of spending this money, we give it as a tax deduction to clinics, to doctors' offices, to medical hospitals, so that they can turn around and reinvest that money still in the free market. More employees, more bigger facilities, to where it's not only Oklahomans get healthier, but businesses are able to grow, and that helps out everybody.
Yeah, and there are really so many options now. The Obamacare mandate was just a killer. I mean, it just killed the free market here. A perfect example is, I don't know if you've heard of Salerno Health, but they started back in, 14, 13, I don't remember the exact year. But basically, they were a membership-based program. So you paid, $50, $60, $70 a month, and you had access to a doctor. And once you're an established patient, they could talk to you over the phone and prescribe if needed, that kind of thing. And so we were members, and we had that for our employees as well. So they were able to go see a doctor, and it wasn't hundreds of dollars a month. Well, we went from that to when the Obamacare mandate went into place. It was crazy. It was like $1,400 or $1,500 a month for our family. That was it. And I mean, like, who can afford that? I mean, and then, we have the repeal. Well, now we're back into a situation where there are these membership-based programs
Yes.
that are out there. We're a member of one, and there's one. I mean, they're all over the place now. But you literally pay, whatever their fee is monthly. You have access to a doctor. You're not paying co-pays when you go in, and lower income people can afford that. I mean, it's not major medical, but you pair a major medical with that. There's so many options out there now. There's no reason for health insurance costs to be as high as they are.
Yep. Well, and what Obamacare did, and I don't know if they knew what they were doing when they put it in, but it had a consequence that some people may not have thought of. Once you mandated that every insurance provider had to take on a customer, didn't matter if there was a pre-existing, which I don't disagree with that. I'm okay with. But when you force everybody into the healthcare market and say, well, if you don't go into it, you're going to pay a fine. People who were healthy didn't really need to go to a doctor hardly ever. They looked at the expense. I'm going to pay a lot more in health insurance, or I'll pay a little bit in a fine at IRS. I'll just pay the fine at IRS. Their hope was the young people would be in the market as well, which would offset the expense from those who needed more medical care, since now they can be insured. They have to be insured. So that drove the prices up, because the only people that were staying in the market were those that either could afford it or had to have it. So that forced more people onto Medicaid, which means more of government money going into it, which means your taxes are going to have to be higher or offset by other things you're paying higher money for. So instead of going to the extreme effect of, well, let's just have government pay for everything. No. Free market is always the best way to handle a situation. If you incentivize them to help out those that can't afford it, it actually ends up helping out everybody.
And they will.
Yeah.
And they will. I mean, I think about the AMP, I call it the AMPM clinic by our house, the urgent care, whatever. I mean, they have cash prices for people that don't have insurance, and they're not crazy. I mean, it's under $100 to go in and get a strep test, get an antibiotic, and all that, and be on your way. And not everybody can afford that $100, but most people can afford it if they're in an emergent situation where they need to get health care.
Yes.
So, okay, well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will wrap up healthcare and get into education reform.
Yes,
Okay?
ma'am.
All right.
Hey, crypto newbies, lovers, and experts, this is Matt with your Crypto Minute. Let's begin. So, what is a crypto wallet? A crypto wallet can be a physical device, an online platform, a downloadable application, or a special piece of paper. A crypto wallet has both a public and a private key that allows you to send, receive, and store cryptocurrency. Use your public key to receive transactions from others, while your private key grants you full access and control over your funds. Basically, you can use your private key to sign over funds when sending crypto to somebody else. It's extremely important to never share your private key. Oh, and by the way, no cryptocurrency is actually stored on these wallets. Instead, your wallet's primary function is to keep your private keys safe. You see, instead of your funds being on your wallet, it's actually recorded on the public ledger, which is also known as the blockchain. Are you looking to understand Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies? Are you looking to buy and get into the space? Reach out to me. My website's in my bio and on this video. I would love to help you out.
Introducing all new, safe, natural relief. A cannabinoid-rich, clarity and focus formula with 17 essential supplements. When it matters most, you've got a job to do. Anxiety isn't an option. Programmed to keep you moving. A product exclusively manufactured for Active Duty RX by Cantech Labs.
When I'm with you, there's no one else around. Yeah, I'm so high, gravity can't hold me down. Imagine.
Welcome back. Okay, so was there anything else you wanted to get to on healthcare?
Two things. One thing I looked up was the state of Indiana, and two of the things that they do in their state is a deductible security plan where they pair a private health insurance policy for their state employees with a health savings account. They invest in that, what the deductible for that plan is, and they pay the premium for that health insurance. It puts the money into the pocket of the employee, and they spend it how they see fit, as opposed to, well, just instead of going to emergency room for a cut on the knee, you're going to go to urgent care and you're going to spend 10 times less the amount of money. And it ends up saving their state about 35% off of what they spend for health care for their state employees. The other thing is price tags.
Oh, yeah.
Having healthcare providers put up front what the prices are for services so that people can actually shop and spend money wisely and be more frugal with regards to deductibles, HSAs, their co-pays, so they know what's going on before they ever walk in the door.
Oh, yeah. And also knowing up front, I mean, you do have those situations where you're like, do I really need to go to the doctor for this? And I know that sometimes, yes, I mean, you don't want to hold off. But, I mean, I know people who, I mean, if you're getting free, which is nothing is free, so this nonsense about free insurance, it's not free. I'm paying for your insurance if you have free insurance, just so you know. But, like, they'll go to the doctor over a cold.
Mm-hmm.
Or their kid has a 102 fever and they go to the emergency room. Well, they're like, well, it's free for me. Well, why wouldn't I? But it's not free for me for you to do that. It drives up my cost when you do that. And so, but when there's a price tag, when there's, you know, some accountability on the individual, which I think is important, then they're forced to go, gosh, you know,
Most
maybe
people actually look at it and see what's going on.
Maybe I shouldn't go to the emergency room for that, you know,
Yes.
for a paper cut. Maybe I should hold off on that. Okay. Anything else on health insurance?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. Next on your platform is education reform,
Yes,
which,
ma'am.
okay, education is a big issue, as you know, here. So talk about your idea for education reform.
All right. Well, again, just like healthcare, I'm going to throw some numbers out there to you. 2018, and this is according to NEA reports, the National Education Association. I'm gonna look at Florida and Oklahoma with you, okay? Florida has 67 counties, Oklahoma has 77, so close to it. School districts, Oklahoma has 512, Florida has 75. Now, when you start looking at school districts, you start looking at administrative level. Each school district has a superintendent. On average, in Oklahoma, we pay $100,000 per superintendent. Florida pays $152,000. So when you start looking at totals, state of Oklahoma, just out of the education budget, is spending around $50 million just for superintendents. That's not counting the staff for each one of them. Florida only pays about $12 million. Now, why do these numbers matter? Graduation rates. Florida is 4th highest in the country. Oklahoma, 27th. Wow, that's crazy. Let's look at teacher pay. Oklahoma, and this is 2018, $46,000. We were at the bottom of the barrel. Mm-hmm. Florida, $49,000. They were only 4 spots higher than we were. So they're only paying a little bit more for their teachers per year. So evidently it's not just simply teacher pay rate as to what's going on with education. There's other things that we can look at. So the first part of my education plan is to do an administrative level consolidation. There's no reason why we need 512 school districts. When you look at some of those school districts, and this is using data you can find out there, Oklahoma Watch, how much does each superintendent make? They did a whole spreadsheet that you can look at it. Some of these school districts have a couple of hundred kids enrolled in them. Some other school districts have 500 or 600. But then when you look at the metro area, same thing, one superintendent. When you look at Oklahoma City schools, if you really want to get into it, 45,000 students for one person. So I think we need to do some administrative level consolidation so that we can lower the amount of kids for some areas and up the amount of kids for others, so that we can save roughly about $30 to $40 million, which goes into the education budget, which means we can then, again, either pay teachers more, hire more teachers, add to the size of some of the buildings, because when Oklahoma City did their physical building consolidation, they didn't make any of their schools bigger. The school that my kids go to, they added an extra roughly 150 to 200 students, but there was no construction crews making the school physically bigger. So that's kind of what I'm talking about with education, is that administrative level reform, because I don't think we need 512 school districts. Realistically, we probably only need about 150. On top of that, I'm a firm believer in the choice of the parents with regards to their child's education. I don't think you should be hamstrung in the state of Oklahoma by where you live. We do have some choice options here, I will say that. You can put your kids in charter schools. There are also grants and funding for you to send your kids to private schools. So there are things that Oklahoma's doing, but I think it's time to take the next step. I think it's time for us to truly open it up. Because if you live in downtown Oklahoma City, but you work in Edmond, why can't you put your kid in the Edmond Public School District? You know, if that school is better than the one that's close to where you live, or if you live out on the east side, or if you live in South Oklahoma City, wherever you live, I think it's the choice of the parents where to put their kids in school, not the government.
Yeah.
On top of that, I actually would love to eventually see a voucher program for those kids. You know, let that money stay with the child, because then it makes public schools more accountable to those students. It makes sure that, you know, we have teachers teaching reading, writing, arithmetic, that we're preparing our kids for the future, not necessarily just for a state test.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things with education, but the largest I think we can start with immediately is the administrative level consolidation, trying to get these tens of millions of dollars back into the school budget that would allow us to do a lot of other things, because it's for the kids. If it's paying teachers more, that's great too, you know, because teachers need to be empowered. They need to know that their state is behind them. But it's all about our kids, because they're our future. So we need to make sure that they are having a better education so we can raise our graduation rates. Because when kids graduate from high school, they go on to big and better things.
That's true. And the whole, it's not hard to, if you consolidate that money, you can pay the teachers more. I mean, which we've done that. And I know that, you know, we don't have to get into the whole argument about what teachers should be paid and this and that. I mean, I can tell you that when I went to public school, there were some teachers who deserved more pay than others. They all did not deserve the same pay. And I can tell you some deserve to be fired. But so that's just my opinion on it.
Nope. That's the beauty of this country. You're free to have an opinion.
That's right. Okay, anything else on education?
Not really. Those are pretty much the biggest points to hit on.
Okay. Criminal justice reform, another area. There's a lot of stuff going on
yes.
in that area right now.
And it's another one of those topics where some people, the hair stands up on the back of their head. Some people are like, please tell me. So with me, it's real simple. The first one is bail reform. You know, one of the things that keeps people in our Oklahoma prisons is our bail system. Because some people can't afford to pay to get out of jail. Now, are they accused of a crime? Yes. Will the court find them guilty or not guilty? The court will do its job. But it's our job as Oklahomans to understand that just because they may have committed a crime, that doesn't mean that they necessarily need to sit in jail until the fact that they get to finally actually go to trial. So we need to work on our bail system. We need to improve it. We need to first off make bails fit the crime.
Yeah.
And secondly, we need to look at our current bail system and see which ones we could actually truly make them OR bonds, or out on your own recognizance, to where you're not having to pay a bond to get out. You sign a form, agree to these terms, and you're released on your own recognizance. I think that actually you'd see a big increase on that. And some of the figures I looked at were, it was costing the state of Oklahoma roughly millions of dollars, almost $10 million in some aspects, to house people in prisons. So that's why with criminal justice reform, we got to start with the bail system and figure out how we can make it more efficient, but at the same time not create a debtor's prison. Because again, Oklahomans are paying for that. The taxpayers are paying for those prisons. So I think there's a lot of people in the state that would love to see some bail reform even past what we've done in the past.
Mm-hmm. So what did you think about Governor Stitt's move to commute the sentences of, what was it? Yeah, I think that was great.
I mean, and that actually runs into the next thing, sentencing reform with criminal justice. One of the ladies that was commuted, she was on a 30-year prison sentence for failure to protect. The abuser got 2 years. That is a big discrepancy.
Yeah,
that is a really big discrepancy.
That's insane. It's insane. And then some of these, because to me the violent crimes are so much. It's different than a drug crime. And I know, there's this discussion about if drugs are a violent crime. When you're talking about somebody that got caught with an ounce of pot,
yes,
that's not a violent crime. If anything, they were just really high and hungry, or very mellow or whatever. They're probably not out jacking people and robbing banks and stuff like that. They're not raping anybody when they're so. But then you would see, because it seems like there was somebody that had like a drug charge, something like that, and it was some crazy sentence because it met some.
There was some of those too.
Yeah, where you're just like, what? They were in jail for how long?
Well, I mean, it was only recently when possession was a misdemeanor, not a felony.
Yeah.
So it's understandable that some of those people had those sentences because before it was changed, it was a felony to be in possession of any drugs.
Yeah.
So it was a great thing that Governor Stitt did, and that instance with that young lady leads me into the other part of criminal justice reform is sentencing. The judges should have the ability to lower the sentence if they believe it is cruel and unjust. You look at the Constitution. We are protected from punishments that are cruel and unjust. When you talk about juries, there's an emotional factor that plays in. Now, I believe that juries should still be able to determine a sentence. But if a judge feels that that sentence doesn't necessarily fit the crime, they should have the ability to lower it so that these people can do their penance to society, pay their debt, and get out and become productive citizens, because that's what criminal justice reform is all about, is trying to find those people that they can go pay their penance to society and then get out and become productive members. That's what criminal justice reform should always be about.
Yes, I agree. And it shouldn't be a political outlet for things. So, okay. Well, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and finish our conversation about criminal justice reform, and then I have a few questions for you.
All right.
All right.
Introducing all new, safe, natural relief. A cannabinoid-rich, clarity and focus formula with 17 essential supplements. When it matters most, you've got a job to do. Anxiety isn't an option. Programmed to keep you moving. A product exclusively manufactured for Active Duty RX by Cantech Labs.
Hey everybody, Todd Tucker here. Are you tired of Big Mobile making deals with dirty DC politicians to amplify liberals and silence conservatives like you? Do you want the same quality of service that you get from your current provider without supporting leftist, anti-American subversives like Kendra Horn and Nancy Pelosi? Well, Patriot Mobile can help you, and they can make a great deal. Ask what Patriot Mobile can do for you, and ask what Patriot Mobile can do for your country. Call Patriot Mobile today at 877-367-7524. 877-367-7524. Be a patriot. Join Patriot Mobile.
Welcome back. All right, so we're talking about criminal justice reform.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything else that you wanted to make sure you mentioned?
No, those were the biggest things.
Okay. Yeah, that's one that we really need to address in the state, and I am very happy with the direction that Governor Stitt is going, and some of our others, Kevin Calvi, and that are on the front lines, working hard on that. So, okay, so I have a few questions for you.
Sure.
Would you vote to repeal the historic tax increase that was passed for the, and of course we're talking about 1010XX,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the tax increase that was passed to fund education?
Yes, I would. I think my idea with education would go a lot further than the tax increase would.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that you'll see a lot of other benefits come from it because, again, what I touched on was just the superintendent, not also talking about the staff for each one of those superintendents. So you're going to see a lot more money that's going to come into the education budget with just that one thing being done on the administrative level. So I would definitely sign on to that.
Yeah, and we don't have to go firing a bunch of administrators. I mean, there's people retiring, and and then you just don't fill that spot. You just consolidate as time goes on if you have to do it that way. But I'm all for consolidating. Okay, so how about parental choice in vaccines?
That's always been a hard topic for me because I understand both sides of the argument. For some people, it's a religious choice, and some people it's not. I honestly do believe in freedom and liberty, so I'll usually take the libertarian approach. It's their choice.
Yeah. That's always, for me, it's if you know what, err on the side of liberty, because anytime you're taking away someone's individual rights, it's an infringement. So, and there are people out there that are very, very passionate both ways on this. But
and you're also seeing more and more studies coming out constantly, almost every day now. Talking about correlation, causation, things like that. So
vaccine injury. I mean, it's a real thing.
About it now.
Oh yeah. There needs to be more studies. I mean, there really does. Okay. Term limits. How do you feel about term limits?
Well, current legislation here in the state of Oklahoma, we do have term limits. I'm assuming you're talking about on the federal level.
Yes.
On the federal level, yes, I am staunchly for term limits. I don't think you should have people serving in office for 30 or 40 years, making pretty much their entire fortune off of the taxpayer's dollar.
Yeah.
So I'm very in favor of term limits.
And I like to ask that question even of like the state level legislature candidates, because the ones that are on Capitol Hill started here, and they change from here to when they get there. So it's always good to get people on record on how they feel about term limits and those type of things. Okay, so permitless carry. We talked maybe just briefly about that. I don't remember if it's on camera or off camera. So how do you feel about the permitless carry bill that was passed and now enacted as of November 1st?
Well, I kind of took a different approach than some people did. I was in favor of it heavily because of the fact that I look at it from the aspect of potential victims. When you look at some of the victims of domestic violence, of rape, of sexual assault, they're usually, if you run the statistics, they're kind of more towards that lower class as far as income levels. So they may not be able to afford roughly $200 to $300 in some instances to go pay for a class, to pay for the licensing, to pay for the fingerprint, to pay for the background checks. But they might be able to scrounge enough money to go get a $200 or $300 revolver. So I was definitely in favor of it from the aspect of I want to give people the ability to defend themselves and not make self-defense based upon income.
Now, a lot of times it's women and minorities that can't. Single moms who are, don't have, maybe they have one income, and then people who are in certain minority classes, they are victimized in the sense statistically more than some groups.
Yes.
And they were also had less access to self-defense or to buying guns because of income or other issues.
And if you see a news story about a would-be rapist shot by a victim who was in the lower income level, but she was able to scrounge enough money to go buy a gun and she was carrying it on her, then constitutional carry worked for what it was designed to do.
Yep. So without getting too off into the weeds, because this is one of those hot topics for people right now, do you have an opinion on what happened with Tim Harper?
I actually can't comment on that.
Okay.
But I will recommend to all your viewers to go read the laws before you start carrying firearms, please. You need to know, it's your responsibility to know what the law says. So if you have a question, if you're not sure, call an attorney friend if you have one. You can also go to different websites, ok2a.com. You know, there's plenty of organizations out there that are devoted to making sure people, especially in this category, know their rights. So go out there. You know, you can also contact the wonderful people at U.S. Law Shield as well. They are an organization designed to protect people who have to defend themselves. So, but know what the law says.
Yes, and I have U.S. Law Shield. So, in a case I have to cap anybody.
Me too.
That's an official term. You know, that's an
That's
actual.
what I hear.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, we talked a little bit about it, but how do you feel about how Governor Stitt is doing?
I think he's doing a great job with the ideas that he's bringing in from a business acumen. It's doing a great thing as far as fixing problems with our budget, streamlining services that realistically should have been streamlined probably 10 years ago. He's also looking at different parts of his administration to see what's better for Oklahomans, what we were doing or what we could be doing. So I'm really pleased at what he's done.
I am too. How do you feel about President Trump?
I support some of his actions. I mean, I think some of his policies are doing a lot of good for our country. Some of the ways he's going about other policies, I would probably change a little different, but he's in a unique situation. He's constantly being bombarded from every side. The news media, other politicians, the legislative bodies of this country are beating him up constantly, even some aspects of the judicial branch as well. So he's trying to do the most effective job that he can, and sometimes that pushes him to have to do things that we might consider rash out here in Oklahoma. But we're a long way from D.C. where he's sitting taking this bombardment every day.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so for the audience, is there anything coming up that where you'll be? I know I'm
planning on being at the conservative Christmas celebration.
Okay.
So I definitely ask, not just my people in my district, but Oklahomans, come on out, come see us. Not just the CD5 candidates, but I'm pretty sure local candidates will be there as well. Come talk to us. Come find out what you want, what we're going to be doing, what we're trying to do. Give us some constructive criticisms or talk about some of the issues that you want to talk about. I'll be more than happy to talk about something that may not be part of my platforms, because I do have a lot of ideas past those that I think we can try and do things better as a state to help out each other. I would also love people to come out and show your support for my campaign, because I really need it.
Okay, so where can they find you?
Website's going to be at robertforhd83.com.
Okay.
Facebook is Robert for HD83 in 2020. So I kind of changed it up a little bit with that. But you can also search my name online. You know, you'll find different things about that, but you'll be able to get to me one way or another. I'd love to hear from anybody out there. Shoot me an email, robertforhd83@gmail.com.
Okay, and so one thing I always like to tell our audience when we have candidates on is it's our responsibility to get behind the candidates that we support. And that means knocking doors, that means donating, that means getting their message out there. So if you believe that he is the candidate for you, you need to get behind him and support him. Lip service doesn't do a whole lot. You know, sometimes Republicans don't want to turn loose of their money, but they need to do that. And they need to go to the conservative Christmas celebration, because there will be lots of candidates there, and they're accessible. You can shake their hand and talk to them one-on-one and see who they really are in person. So, okay. Anything else you want to share?
No, that's it. Again, I appreciate you having me out here. I love the opportunity to kind of get out there and reach not just my potential constituents, but also Oklahomans in general, because this state, we're stronger when we're together working towards a better future. And that's why you'll see a lot of times with anything, I always like to call it working today for Oklahoma's tomorrow. That's what I stand for, is working today for Oklahoma's tomorrow, because the future is where we need to start getting to.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you for joining me. And maybe as we get closer to the election, I can have you come back, and I'll have your opponent on too at some point.
It'll be my pleasure to come out.
All right. Good to have you. All right. I will be right back.
Hello, basket of deplorables, ladies, gentlemen, those who are undecided. Todd Tucker back at the bunker where I belong. And we want you to join us here at OTU Media. Become a patron, a Patreon member. If you want true conservative messaging and not the same old corporate filtered news of Oklahoma, this is the place to be. Become a supporter, a soldier, a sergeant, a co-producer, even a sponsor. True conservatism lives here at OTU Media. Go to patreon.com/OTU Media, patreon.com/OTU Media. This is where conservatism lives, and the fight is just beginning.
Welcome back. All right, so I want to also let you know that he will be signing our pledge, our tax pledge, so the no raising taxes pledge. So we'll make sure we get that to you guys as soon as that is done. Also, just a reminder, the Conservative Christmas celebration is December 14th. The official time the start time is 6 o'clock, but from 6 to 6:30 is really kind of a cocktail hour. You'll be able to look at the silent auction items, that sort of thing. And then officially dinner will start at 6:30. It's going to be very casual, very comfortable. The dress code I just put as festive, so you can interpret that however you want. CD5 candidates will be there. And so if you have a favorite CD5 candidate, you might want to message him or her and make sure that they are going to be there. That's what you can do actually for me, is just go ahead and message the candidates and say, hey, are you going to be at this event? We do have some sponsorships available. So if you have a business or an organization that you would like to be involved and get some exposure and get to maybe talk at the event, let me know. Tickets are available on Eventbrite, and there's lots of door prizes and silent auction items. It's going to be so much fun. Buy your tickets before December 1st, and you're going to be entered to win that weekend getaway at the Hilton Garden Inn, Quail Springs, okay? Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you next week, Thanksgiving week. Hi, I'm Leslie Nesmith, host of Me, Myself, and Liberty right here on OTU Media. And I want to invite you to our first annual Conservative Christmas celebration. It takes place December 14th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. We're going to have food. There will be a cash bar for those of you who like to be festive. And we will have lots of door prizes and silent auction items. Actually, I have a few right here, so you can do some Christmas shopping. Look at this. Oh, wine ovation. This is a wine opener. We have, okay, you're going to have to check this out for the guys. Look at this. This is a pricey little thing here, but it's going to be available too. I have some fun things for the ladies. Lots of little handbags. I even have a daisy slingshot. Okay, this is only a few of the things that we're going to have. They're prizes, silent auction items, and we're going to have some giveaways. So buy your tickets before December 1st, and you're going to be entered to win a weekend getaway at the Hilton Garden Inn, Quail Springs. That is awesome. If you are military, law enforcement, or a first responder, you get a special price. So make sure that when you go to the Eventbrite page, you click on your special pricing. Again, it's December 14th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. And one other thing, the CD5 candidates have been invited. So we have several of them confirmed. If you have a favorite candidate for Congressional District 5, you might give them a call or message them and say, hey, are you going to be at the Conservative Christmas celebration? I'll see you December 14th.